Hey there ladies and gentlemen, hope you are having a great day. Happy holiday season to everyone. I built this back in November, so I still uses the fall overlay pack, but very soon the next build will be covered in snow. I started off like usual by making a tiny square of granite mixed with some polished granite. To match up with the surrounding environment, I decided to have some sort of an old century building that you would expect to see in the early 1800s. Thus, I haven't used that much bricks in my build, aside from chimneys and roofs, so I'm trying a bit different color palette for this entire build, aside from the usual white and brown I use in most builds. One of the major inspirations I took was this image of a steampunk bakery from Pinterest. And just by this one image, I was obsessed with that tiny furnace on the back, because sometimes the smallest details could spark an entire new idea. And if you wonder where I get that quote from, I just invented it right now. I continue by making this round shaped window, along with some total black roofs, seasoned with a bit of andesite to add more contrast to the build. I then pushed back the upper parts I had just built to leave out some more space for the roofs. Next up, I started adding timber frames because this thing could pretty much fit in any buildings. On the left side of the bakery, I wanna make it so that this bakery was morphed and industrialized, so a windmill was cramped in so the bakery grinds their own wheat into flour. Now here comes the hard part. I was trying to have something a little bit different for the roofs, but wow, I didn't expect Mizuno's work planks to be so bright. I don't know, but maybe some people like it, but personally it's just a little bit too bright for my comfort. And yeah, that windmill. The problem I had with the design is that it's either too thin or too bulky, but I ended up with the same layout as I had with my summer builds, which you guys can check it out. Hashtag shameless promotion. Oh, and don't forget to follow my Instagram. Now that we have finished with the roof, I still wasn't quite happy with the scale of the building, so I extended a couple more blocks long, just stretching it out a little bit. You know, after this part, I started detailing the exterior of the build, and I did quite a lot of work around it. But I realized one terrible mistake. I forgot to press the record button while adding details to the roof, so to compensate for that, here's a picture of a seal. Okay, enough fooling around, let's get back into the video. Anyways, moving on to the inside, I start by making a couple windows to add some natural lights in, just to give it a little bit more life here. I also made this couple gears decoration to emphasize the steampunk vibes. I used these wooden wheel CITs instead, and I think it turned out pretty well. I gotta admit, this enormous furnace here is one of my favorite features on this build. It's what got me inspiration to even build this bakery in the first place. Just be careful when working around it, you wouldn't wanna burn your hands in. Now that we have somewhere to place our freshly baked goodies, I spam the counters to be overtaken by the bread CITs. Maybe a jar of yeast there. Now for the kitchen, which wasn't quite a kitchen at all, I had a couple cookies dried by the sun, And speaking of breads and cookies, I got a joke for this one. If you're listening to lo-fi music when you're making breads, wouldn't it be a lo-fi music? Okay, I wish I could apologize for that, but I really wasn't. Moving on, I changed the floor into diorite to break up the color palette. To spice it up a little bit more, I added birchwood because I think it's a really good combination. I also created this firewood shelf, but I ended up scrapping it mainly because charcoal fuel fits the steampunk vibes better. Okay, while I was thinking of what to do with the attic rather than just a boring storage room, with my last two brain cells, I came up with the idea of a quote-unquote supply carrying minecart roller coaster. So I did just that. But it's easier said than done, and wow, do I really overestimated my redstone skills. In the next few seconds, just look at the things I invented. Just realized that the rail is gonna look ugly if it's spiraling downwards, so I removed it and added a track that pierces from behind the build into the bakery instead. I'm also installing this minecart trail, so I'm gonna explain how it would work in my mind. Back in my Pocket Edition days, there's this annoying feature where minecarts just won't stop going back and forth. And I was trying to do the same thing in Java, from the windmill to the bakery, but the problem is that whenever it reaches the bottom, it just stops there. So I manually send it back up and starts working on the rail. Let me tell you, I just wasted 3 hours of my life tinkering and testing the rails. I watched a tutorial about redstone circuits from 2011. Like, I'm not mumbo jumbo here, alright? So I eventually gave up and cut out the rails short. So now it's just a simple minecart track going on a loop. Okay, the attic was quite a distraction. Now, why don't we get back to work on the bakery? And for this, I just splatter cakes on both sides. On this side right here, we have more bread. Wait, where's the script again? Okay, here it is. Okay, so corporate wants you to find the difference between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture. I can just hide her here and nobody would notice. What am I even doing? Now for this side, I want to make a shelf and I wanted something different. Maybe it sells ingredients like chocolate powder, yeast or matcha. On the left side, I tried something like candy bars or tacos, but it just doesn't sit right with me. Like, maybe the candy bars bowl looks a bit too modern for the vintage theme. For the upper part of the build, I wanted to go for something a little bit imaginary than your usual bakery, which are cookbooks. Oh, and I replaced the bottom left space with even more breads. Also, I tried this technique of red carpet to add a little bit more grand feeling to it, but in the end, it always failed. I don't know why, but for some reason it looks kinda weird. Now for the last bit, we want to make a centerpiece for this. And for the display of the centerpiece, I wanted to have decorations that combines winter and fall. I'll let this scene speak for itself. For some reason, I was running dry of idea when filling this corner here because, you know, I can't stand empty corners. You know, it was my instinct to fill it up. Yeah, and I don't really like it, and so I tore it up. I also created these shelves here that had ingredients on it. You know, realistically, with a bakery this big, it wasn't a one-man's job to run it. So I added another villager, and I wanted it to be a smelter or something. I forgot the profession's name, alright? And I wanted it to make it look like a worker on this bakery. Alright, so we have officially completed the bakery's interior. Now let's move on to the outside. Alright, next we'll be connecting the road to the bakery. If you guys are wondering what I built on the back, it's a village I built back on Buildtober, and I will slowly fill it up over time, maybe even a wood download. For the hedges, I'm debating whether I should use spruce leaves because, again, leaves are kinda cliche for hedges. So instead, I experimented with a little bit, and I tried using these mushroom CITs, and I think it turned out pretty well. And added this wheat carriage from Ghoulcraft. For the finishing touches, we wanted to make that tree with a giant beehive on it. I tried removing the leaves by burning it away, but then I realized that I turned off the fire spread. So in the end, I resorted to the power of World Edit, and I simply deleted the leaves out of existence. And then I hang in the giant beehive, but then I realized that the tree was a bit too close to the bakery, since it kinda blocks the view. So I tried moving it a little bit, and please caption this, okay? And there's nothing to see here, guys, just a man moving a tree. Alright, I hope you guys are enjoying the video as much as I enjoy making them. Please consider subscribing. It was simple, it was free, and it really helps me out. And lastly, enjoy the tour.